Hey everybody, it's Ziz here, and welcome to Crowfall Insider, your weekly news source for all things Crowfall. And this week we're looking at the visual effects. These are the programs and the systems they're going to be using to make the game look awesome. And we also got to meet 3 new developers. They're going to make the fireballs and the explosions and all that sort of stuff. Also, there was an update to the Code of Conduct. This is going to be for both on the forums and in-game. And a lot of people were worried about this because they were worried that if you get banned on the forums, that meant you got banned in-game as well. And so we're going to take a look and see if that still holds true. We also got some updated models, things that you can look at, monsters and stuff that James Goblin posted on Reddit. This you can check out online and you can zoom in and out, and we're going to take a look at that stuff. But last and not least is the combat chat. This is the 3rd one that Tully and Thomas Blair have done, and it's almost 19 minutes long, and there's tons of awesome information. They talk about CC and hitting people with projectiles and a whole bunch more. We're going to check all that out right now. First up, we got to look at the visual effects system and programs they're going to be using in game. Now, honestly, it's not super exciting. They don't show a lot of the visual effects, ones that we're actually going to see in game. They're basically talking about the program, how it works, how you can adjust different settings and variables and things like that. And the bottom line is that it's really easy to use, it's really quick, and lets them make a lot of different things that they want to make. They also show 3 of the new developers. This is one of the guys here. There's 2 others in the office there working on this stuff and making it already. So we're gonna get some pretty sweet, flashy looking stuff pretty quick. Now, there also was a little bit of a disturbance in the force. There were some people who didn't like this video, basically because half the video was the developers' kids, which they're nice and they're cute, and the joke was that, what is a visual effects person? We don't know what they do, and the kids are like, oh, I don't know, and they were trying to make it funny and lighthearted, and everybody loves their own kid, but the consensus was, we just want gameplay, we don't want to see your little kids. And hopefully nobody was offended, but unfortunately this isn't the best update we've gotten, but nothing bad, all just kind of good stuff. They're working and doing it. Next up are the changes to the Code of Conduct. This is for both on the forums and in-game. Now, you can go on their website and check out both posts, and they lay everything out. But one post I thought was really interesting was this person asking that if they're banned in the forums, is that 100% guarantee also a ban in-game? And Tyrant, aka Gordon Walton, one of the co-owners and founders of the company, said no. If you're banned on the forums, it is not a guarantee you're banned in the game. Now, they do, of course, reserve the right to ban anyone they need to. If you read through the Code of Conduct, it basically says if you're being a total, detriment to this game, if you're being completely toxic and ruining it for everyone, we have the right to refuse service to anyone, and they can do that. But all of it boils down to one simple thing. Don't be a jackass! It's that simple. Don't use racial slurs. Don't be sexist. Don't be completely ridiculously rude to someone. They've actually gone out of their way to say, you can disagree with us. You can make comments, like they let you talk about other games and say, hey, do it this way, it's better. That's not a problem. Just don't be a jackass. What I think is even more ridiculous about this is that people feel like they're trying to find a way to ban you. Like they're going out of their way to hide in your closet and watch everything you do because they really want to ban you. Do you think a company that makes money from their subscribers is trying to find a way to get rid of them? No, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. They're just trying to prevent you from being such a fucking idiot that you drive other people away. They're just trying to stop that from happening. Next up are some art assets that you can actually look at and interact with online. Now, these are made by another company for Crowfall, because remember, Ace actually outsources some of their stuff to have other companies do it. And so this is posted online. I've seen it before, and James Goblin actually posted it on Reddit, and a lot of people haven't seen it. And the coolest thing is that you can actually interact with it. You can zoom in and zoom out, and you can flip it around. And these are actual, kind of art models that we're going to see in game. This is what this Griffin's going to look like, basically, once they get it in there. And there's also one for the Hellcat, which is really sweet. You can check those out. There's also these other kind of layers that you can add over it. You want to see like normal, you can check it out, with the glossiness, lots of stuff I think a lot of artists would love to see. There's also the look for the trebuchets here, and also the clock tower, that you can see both the clock tower and the trebuchet in the most recent fly-through video. They're just gray box, but just pretty cool. If you haven't seen though, go check it out. I'll put the links down below. And last but not least is the Combat Chat Part 3. And this is a huge 19-minute long video, and they talk about a ton of stuff. Now, this is Tully and Thomas Blair, and they're the ones that are actually making the game right now. They're making the abilities and the archetypes. They're actually playing it to see how it's all working out. And they actually take these questions, the ones they're answering, from you, from people who go to the forum and post, and they're pulling those out, and they've answered a ton of questions. So if you have a question, go and post. Now, this particular combat chat, they're talking about the 3 archetypes they just released, the Knight and the Confessor and the Legionnaire. And they talk about how the group size isn't determined yet. So they don't know if there's 5 people or 6 or 10. And some people are even asking, do we need groups at all? I mean, there's potentially friendly fire, there's free-for-all campaigns. Do we even want groups like traditional MMOs? And I said a couple of reasons why having a group is important. One is it adds an interesting choice. If there's only 6 people in your group, who do you bring with your group? What kind of dynamic, what kind of makeup, what strategies are you using with the people that are in your group? Also, support classes like the Legionnaire have abilities that buff people around them. If there's no groups, how do you determine who you want to buff, who you want to affect with your abilities? And so when you have a group, then you have the choice. Do you bring another Confessor to do more damage? Or maybe you want a Legionnaire so they can buff people. Do you put a Legionnaire in every one of your groups if you're like a massive guild, or do you only have a few Legionnaires? So these are kind of interesting things why they might have groups in the game, but they haven't decided yet. Also, another big thing they talk about is CC, crowd control, and they know that being chain stunned to death is no fun, and they don't want that. They've said that's not what they want. And in fact, one of the very first things that Tully worked on was a CC immunity sort of diminishing return system. So you can't just be CC'd over and over and over and over and over before you die. Eventually there's going to be a point where it doesn't work on you anymore, or there's a diminishing return. Now, they didn't say exactly how the system works, but they also said don't forget that this isn't like older games like Shadowbane, where there was a 15-second stun, or like Dark Age of Camelot, where it's an insta-cast, a minute-long res. The stuns they're looking at are going to be much, much shorter. But even on top of that, they're still going to have a CC immunity duration, diminishing returns that's already in the game. We're going to be able to use it when we start testing this summer. Also, you can charge in any direction, and I thought this was a great thing. If you look at the Legionnaire or the Knight, they have these abilities that let you charge at your target. Now, most games, tab target, and even some action combat games, you charge at the target that your reticle is facing, and so you go right towards that person. But they said in Crowfall, the charges, you can aim any way you want and charge, which actually adds a ton of freedom, because it's not just going to be these charge abilities, but that's the way combat's going to work, is this free form, let you do what you want, which is amazing. Now you can use charges to initiate battle. You can use it to get away as an escape mechanic. Maybe you can charge way in front of people to prevent them from escaping. All these sorts of awesome things that you wouldn't have like in other games where you just go straight at your target and that's it. Now the question comes up is, if you're charging just off in a direction, what stops you from just going the max distance and shooting way past the person you want to hit? And we saw in the Legionnaire there was actually some abilities called wheel left and wheel right, which while you're charging, if you want to stop and attack to the left or the right, you can do that. So it gives you even more freedom. And if you're really skilled, you can time it and distance it just perfectly, where you charge and you hit the person and your charge ends and then you wheel left or right and you get like a double hit, which is pretty awesome. They also talked about your weapon abilities changing the type of damage based on the weapon you have. So some of the Legionnaire abilities said piercing, but if you're using a different type of weapon, it could change that. You could be using crushing, or you could be using slashing and things. So the weapons you have are still going to change the type of damage you do, which adds a lot to the meta. If you see someone wearing plate and plate becomes the new hotness and everybody's wearing plate, then maybe you and your friends start using crushing weapons, which get a bonus to plate. That sort of stuff is still planned and still going to be working in the game. And last but not least, it was a huge topic of controversy, and still is, about ranged and if it's freeform targeting. Is it, does your weapon like curve, your bow, when you shoot an arrow, does it curve to your target? And people don't want to be too easy, and some people don't want it to be too hard. And the big kind of contention and the biggest argument is from people saying, don't make it too easy. Don't make it like all the other games where it's easy, you automatically hit. And the developer said in this video that hitting a moving target with projectiles right now is pretty pretty darn hard. Now, whatever word you put to describe it, whatever the targeting, system is that they're using, forget about that. The developer said that it's hard, which I think is what a lot of people want. They want it to be difficult, but also rewarding. Now, they kind of explain how in other games they use what's called a ray cast system. This is where I want to hit that person, I'm aiming at them, and right when I hit my button, boom, it just instantly goes right to them. And they're not using that in Crowfall. Now, they didn't come out and explicitly say this, but I think that because projectiles are a physical object, they're shooting them and people can run out of the way, and that fireball doesn't just automatically make a U-turn and hit the person. I think maybe that's why it's so difficult. And so that's why they're talking about making it a little easier, soft targeting, things like that. But long story short, they want the game to be fun and difficult, but not impossible. We'll have to wait and see, once we get in game, what it actually works like. And that's it this week for Crowfall Insider. We got to look at the new visual effects program and the programmers who are going to be using them. Also, the code of conduct changes I think are pretty good. And don't forget to check out those new models. I'll have the links for all of that down in the description below. But the best thing we got for the whole week has to be that 19-minute long question and answer, the Combat Chat 3. And these are questions they got literally just days ago, stuff that's happening in the game right now. I think it's awesome how quick, how transparent they are. Go check that out. Everything down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.